the average person drives 20 miles a day to go back and forth to work or in their community. Why should that have to be done with a vehicle that costs just as much to run as it does to even have? Your maintenance and your fuel and all, that's another separate cost, apart from your insurance and your vehicle, your payment on the car. So it's almost like there's two sales floors when you walk into a dealership now. You got the one where you buy the car and then the one where you maintain the car. And I'm looking to eliminate that. That was the reason that I decided to get into the fleet and the municipality sector. I don't want to just convert vehicles on a regular platform for consumers or civilians, because that competition is too stiff. Now that the OEMs are understanding that there needs to be a change in our environment, the impact that we leave on our environment. Now, Cadillac and GM are coming out with 6 new cars, electric vehicles in their line next year. Toyota, Nissan, everyone is coming out with about 5 to 6 electric vehicles in their lines. I looked at the Super Bowl commercials this year.
A lot of ads.
And there was not 95% of vehicles advertised were all electric. Only one, which was a Toyota truck, was not electric.
It was remarkable. By the way, what does OEM stand for? I should know.
Original equipment manufacturer. Equipment original manufacturer, or original equipment, OEM. Yeah, original equipment manufacturer. So OEM means
that I would ask.
Yeah, that's like Dodge or Ford or Chevy. Those are original equipment manufacturers.
Factory.
I am secondary.
Yeah, got it. So where do you want to go with this? Because it seems like you have broken through the sound barrier or something equivalent.
What I want to do is this. I figured the way that I learned can be taught. This can be an industry, and this is how this can be an industry. I'm speaking with a couple of local community colleges now. And what I want to do is create a curriculum for vocational and local community college students that want to get into the automotive industry to learn how to convert vehicles to electric. The reason I want to do that is because almost everyone, about 50% of the roads are going to be, of vehicles on the roads are going to be electric by the year 2030.
By 2030?
By 2030.
50%?
This is,
aren't we like at 2 or 3% still?
This is the anticipation, or this is the forecast. The state of North Carolina, their governor just made a public announcement that he is devoting a huge funding amount to the infrastructure and to garner electric vehicle manufacturers to come to Carolina, because he wants 50% of those vehicles on the road to be electric. Would that happen? It's probably a stretch. Even if we saw 30% of the roads of the vehicles on the road to be electric by 2030, 30% is a lot. That's a lot concerning the millions of vehicles on the road to this day. Now, what I want to do in teaching people how to convert vehicles to electric is this. I just built an electric tow truck, electric wrecker truck. I just built one, okay? It'll be ready for debut in about 30 days, okay, for public debut. This vehicle puts out about 4 to 5 times power as it did when it was in its diesel form, okay? This vehicle will be totally silent, totally earth-friendly, but yet it will be more capable than it was when it was in its previous life, its previous form.
Sounds too good to be true, but you're saying you did it, and you're the guy who did it.
I've already done it.
I believe you. Wow, remarkable.
I've already done it.
And remember, I drove in one of Gregory's creations 3 states, senators, I mean, you name it. I mean, politicians, business leaders, they all sat in that car. They drove it. And some of them drove it. They were just they were blown away. I mean, and when they see this electric tow truck, and Gregory, can you explain why an electric tow truck is so much better, like with a limited range that they do?
Okay, yeah. Please. So the average tow is only 5 to 10 miles. That's it, okay? And I designed this truck to have about a 100-mile range, okay, before you have to recharge it. Now, say in a city like New York, right, where you have 5 boroughs, 5 different police departments, and each one owns their own tow truck. That truck's only going to drive about 20 miles a day within that borough, okay? You need power over range when it comes to a vehicle like that. So if you have a vehicle that can push cars out of the way, that can, move cars, illegally parked cars or cars that are broken down, that are just going to go to a garage or to a tow lot, it's only going to do about 3 to 5 miles per tow. Then this vehicle could run an 8-hour shift easily because it does more stopping and starting, more pausing than it does actually moving. So this is a vehicle that would fit well in that instance.
I have to ask you, how angry and upset are you about what's going on with our mail trucks, which are all about stopping and starting and should be completely electrified in this very dire moment of climate change and our, car emissions being a big problem. And that just got like a whole new, I don't know how long they're going to last, but the next however many years, they're going to be driving, polluting trucks, mail trucks. And we know that's politics. It was, one of Trump's appointees who's still in charge. But I mean, that gets me just really sick, like nauseous from fumes sick, just thinking about that, the potential lost.
Look, I look at it like this. The truth is patient. The truth is ever knowing. The truth will always be told. It just takes time. Okay.
But we don't have time, right? That's what every scientist is telling us.
But as long as there's a more than a handful of people out now that are looking to change the narrative of how we travel. They're looking to change the narrative of mobility, okay, and energy production. I am talking with microgrid companies. I'm speaking with energy supplement companies. I'm speaking with infrastructure companies, grid infrastructure, not just grid, but charging infrastructure companies. I am working with, I'm forming this conglomerate, we're forming this together, a conglomerate of people who are changing the narrative of mobility. And we're not taking away from what is out there. We're giving people a choice. And what will happen is when people realize how little it costs to drive an electric vehicle, how less cumbersome it is to drive an electric vehicle, the word will spread, and it is slowly spreading. It is
and how
happening
little
now.
Service you need. I have not taken my Tesla in for service.
Well, and
4
Betsy,
years. I think that there was a part that was recalled and they actually drove out to me and fixed it. Could not be more easy breezy.
and Betsy, just hear the numbers on the savings for the average life of an electric tow truck.
Well, you look at a tow truck now, the average cost to drive a tow truck is between 64 and 84 cents a mile. Okay. That's what it costs per mile to drive this vehicle. When you consider 8 miles or 9 miles to the gallon, because it's geared so high, it's geared high so that you can tow a lot. So it's not made to be efficient, it's made to be powerful.
Yeah.
All right. And then you have these transmissions now that are always breaking down because they're carrying twice the load as what they were designed. They're designed to move a vehicle, not designed to move 2 vehicles at once. So you have a lot of maintenance, you have a lot of brake fixes, you have power steering issues and your motors that are always breaking down because so much strain on them, right? That needs to be repaired. I can save a vehicle right now. I have a Chevy 1500 truck with the big gold lifted tires and all, and it was supposed to be active fuel management where you drive on the interstate, half the motor shuts off. I still get 12 to 16 miles to the gallon still. And I've got 260,000 miles with the repairs and everything, all of my receipts and all the fuel. I spent somewhere around $160,000 to drive this truck over the last 7 years. To drive an electric vehicle, and you can say this, you know yourself, to drive your Tesla is about 4 cents per mile. To drive an electric tow truck will be between 4 and 8 cents, depending on how much you're towing. 8 cents versus 80 cents. Imagine your savings.
And so why are they saying would have been prohibitive to electrify the mail fleet, the U.S. Postal Service? Was that just politics? Were they lying? Like, how can you do it so affordably? And the government, which should be able to get really good contracts and, in bulk, they were saying it was something like 30,000 more per truck. Did I get that right? I mean, it was some crazy number, which would make any person think, oh, well, it's too expensive. But you're showing that it doesn't have to be.
Well, really quick, just to touch on it. There are parts that are in play. There are pieces that are in play already. Okay. And, there are contracts that have been signed. There are manufacturers that have already, mass manufactured so many parts that have to be used. And a lot of it is politics. Okay. Yes, the cost up front to build an electric vehicle or convert an electric vehicle may be slightly more. It will be more. I'll be honest with you. But when you look at
over the course of the vehicle,
but when you look at the overall effects of how long this vehicle will be on the road, how much you don't have to worry about the brake fixes, downtime of a vehicle, the cost, the maintenance, You know, that's
Stop at the gas station and fill up versus I'm sure they could charge them all, at the postal station
exactly,
wherever they sleep
it
at night.
can.
Yeah.
It can, but what we're going into is we're going into this realm now that the next conversation would be change. And when it comes to change, a lot of people just don't like change. And change is
Do they
not,
like climate change? Apparently, they like climate change or can accept it, tolerate it more than they like change. Like, what's wrong with
well,
it?
I'll tell you what I'm working on as well is these trucks that I'm building and that I want to sell to different municipalities and companies. All right. And it's not just a tow truck. I'm working on school buses, food trucks, anything that does a lot of stopping and starting. Okay.
And there's some good news with school buses, right?
Yes, there is good news. But here's where I come in with my 3 R's: recycle, repurpose, reuse. Okay. Here's where I come in with these vehicles. These vehicles have to be, say I get a contract for 1,000 school buses, right? And 1,000 tow trucks. These have to be done by people. Okay. So that same education program that I'm working on with these community colleges, well, now these people have to have jobs. And these jobs that I'm creating can also benefit not only the families by creating more income, that they're working in, they're bolstering local economic communities, right? But they're also working to better our environment. So it's a win-win if everyone,
jobs. I call it
I'm sorry,
green collar jobs. I'm sorry for
there you go, green collar jobs. Yes, turning blue collars into green collars.